As of the time I'm making this video, Call of Duty Vanguard is about to release at midnight. And with a new COD Zombies coming out, that means that the previous, or as of right now current, Zombies experience, both story-wise and content-wise, that whole chapter is coming to a close now. And I thought it would be a great idea to just go through pros, some cons, and just overall talk about this past year. I want this to be like a year in review type of thing, all centered around Cold War Zombies. And if you're out here wanting to look further back, then oh boy have I got some good news for you. I made a video not too long ago about the horrors of Call of Duty World at War Zombies. I basically dive into what made it so scary, and it's kind of like a retrospective / documentary type of thing, and I'm really proud of it, and I think that you'll get some enjoyment out of it. So if that sounds interesting to you, then go give it a watch. I'll put in an iCard here and I'll link it in the description, and honestly I think that that video is up there with my iceberg. But let's get back on track to Cold War Zombies. Wow, is this one a really mixed bag of a game. With a zombies game like World War II, the majority of the zombies community would say that it wasn't good. And then with a game like Black Ops 3 Zombies, the community as a majority again would say that it is one of the best. But Cold War Zombies really is just in the middle. I have seen such divisive opinions and real hot takes about this game. The whole community are completely mixed about this. I've not seen consistent opinions at all, and I think everyone's got their own likes and dislikes about the game, so I'm going to start with some of mine here. We're going to start with the pros, then the cons, and then the neutral section. And I just want to start off by saying that Easter eggs were a huge pro for, I think, everyone really. They were just more enjoyable to do, more enjoyable to watch, more accessible. You didn't have to watch a million guides, and you didn't need to know chemistry or Morse code either. And people actually wanted to solve them. Like, that is the first time I've really seen that in a long time. And don't even get me started on the speedrunners. They had a blast speedrunning the Easter eggs. They were just very speedrunnable, and I love watching me a good speedrun, so it was really fun for I think all parties involved, whether you were doing the speedrun or watching. And speaking of Easter eggs, I think the ending cutscene was really good as well, specifically for the map Forsaken. The big reveal at the end, Rick Toffen being the director, that was so good. Just whilst we're on about Easter eggs there, I thought I would mention that. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of sets up other things in Vanguard. And continuing to talk about Easter eggs here, I thought that the side Easter eggs were so good. They were extremely easy to solve, sure, but I think the stuff we got was really funny, beneficial, and just gave you something to do on the map. Like the Ronald Reagan pizza delivery Easter egg in Forsaken, that was a really good one. The coffin dance Easter egg being such a huge meme, and being one of the biggest, most funniest side Easter eggs in Zombies, so I've just loved to see those. I thought they were just really good. I'm just glad that overall a lot more people have been on board with Easter eggs this year with Zombies, and I am praying that we're gonna see that level of enthusiasm with Vanguard. Treyarch, keep the Easter eggs up, okay? If they are anything like this in Vanguard, then I think the community is gonna be in for a pretty good year of COD. Something else I want to add onto the pros list is the sense of power creep, and oh wow, I think Cold War nailed it. Although you do start off fairly powerful, you can die very quick if you're not careful, and once you get going with all the perks, because there's no perk limit, which is something else that is on this list, especially if they are all upgraded, you feel like a god, and you have your pack-a-punched weapon, your wonder weapon, and you just feel unstoppable. But remember, you can always get swarmed, but seeing yourself kind of grow throughout a match and get even more powerful, I just think that Cold War did a really good job with this one. I think that Zombies started embracing the whole power creep idea at around like mid Black Ops 2, maybe the end of Black Ops 2 with Origins, and then after that it seems like every game has been giving you more and more bells and whistles to play around with, and more power to wield around and just have a ton of fun with. So Treyarch, well done for this one. It made for a pretty fun gameplay experience. I think that Treyarch also did a wonderful job with the wonder weapons, and not just in terms of aesthetics either. Like the way they were designed and what they did and how they worked, it was all just really good. They were some solid wonder weapons, and honestly, some of the best we've had in Zombies ever. Oh, Chrysalis. With each map, it just felt like each wonder weapon got better. We started with D-Machine. The Die Shockwave was fantastic, and then as each map went on, like we got the Raycane Firebase Z, the Cerberus in Mauer, and then the Chrysalax in Forsaken. Like, each wonder weapon was better with each map as it went on, and that was just really fun. And I think there was just better weapon design overall, the way you could upgrade the rarity of each weapon to make your guns even more powerful. It may not have been everyone's cup of tea, but I think it was pretty good, and once again just plays into that power creep that is so prevalent in Cold War Zombies. And if you wanted to use a gun from the start to finish of a match, you could just hop in with a loadout. You didn't have to mess around waiting for RNG with the box. I enjoyed that, although this would come with a problem that arose, and we'll get to that soon. And the wall weapons changing every 5 rounds, like rarity wise, that was fun as well. And I think another thing that I enjoyed about the weapon system to top it off was that you could put your own blueprint onto a weapon you buy off the wall. That was nice if you wanted certain attachments, saved you having to re-roll constantly, and honestly it just made the loadout system feel a lot more in depth. All the homies love that one. Okay, that was a good change, and although it came a bit later than we would have liked, I'm just glad we got it. I'm really out here hoping that Vanguard will have a much better weapon system eventually, instead of just completely changing the gunplay. In Vanguard, I hope they take what we already have in Cold War with that weapon system, enhance it, change it to make it better, instead of just starting again or with something completely different. This next one is controversial, but in my opinion, it's more of a pro than anything. Outbreak was added into Cold War Zombies. I think it was as DLC 2, which I'll admit that one kind of hurt a bit. It felt a little bit cheap, but I get why they did this. I am not throwing shade. I get why Treyarch did this. They were under that time constraint with Activision. They wouldn't have had time to make a new map and Outbreak at the same time. So looking at it at face value, I'm really glad with what we got. Outbreak started off pretty slow and fairly boring, but eventually, if you were to play it now, it would be much more engaging. It's not perfect by any means, but what was there and what could be, especially if, like I said, they add it into Vanguard, it would be so good. The exploration, the laid back experience, just the way it was, I really enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't perfect, and my god, are there a lot of issues with it, but people wanted an open world Zombies, and it may not have been exactly what we're expecting. It was refreshing nonetheless. The side quests, the random little surprises, like the red ghost zombie thing that pops out at you, I forgot the name of it. The order boss fight that they added in later on, that was so hype. You could see a whole order, a big lad just walking around the map, and it felt like a little raid boss. It was just so cool in that regard, and playing this with friends was infinitely better as well. I really do think that Outbreak was a huge leap forward in terms of zombies and the way we play the game and the way it just is. And Treyarch even came out and said that the player numbers were a 50-50 split between both round-based and Outbreak, so it clearly did do well, which is good to see. And they were always adding stuff to Outbreak, and it just made it more refreshing to hop onto as the seasons went on. This is a smaller one. Exfils were just fun. It gave you a bigger sense of accomplishment than, you know, just literally letting yourself down and bleed out ever would have. It felt like something that should have been in Zombies a long time ago. And you'd also even get bonus XP and bonus Ethereum crystals for doing exfils. It was just great all around. And speaking of Ethereum crystals, I loved this system, okay? The perk system in Cold War Zombies was so good. Being able to upgrade your perks to get mini perks out of them that tie into the whole perk as it is, if that makes sense. I just loved that, and upgrading them was really fun, and grinding for the crystals didn't feel too bad. And by the way, if you're still looking for crystals, I have a guide. It was a system that only got more and more fleshed out as the game progressed. I mean, I think it was when Firebase Z dropped, I want to say, and that's when we got the other upgrades, and we got from tier 3 to tier 5. And wow, did these upgrades change the perks so dramatically. I love the Ethereum crystal system. I wish we could have had that in Vanguard. It would have been great. And once again, this is just another big W for Cold War and just how good a lot of it actually was. And with the no perk limit, getting all of the perks that you've just upgraded to like tier 5, it just felt so good. You just felt so powerful, and it was a really clever solution for getting around Perkaholic, because everyone wanted Perkaholic back, but there weren't gobblegums or elixirs or anything like that in Cold War. So I think just saying, well, we'll up the price of the perks, but you know, you can have as many as you want, was such a good implementation. I believe I've mentioned this one in a few other videos, and this is the sense of mobility that you got by playing Cold War Zombies. You could mantle and jump around places and get to places quicker, take shortcuts, like the Firebase Z trick at spawn. You remember that one where you could jump and skip the door? And I really hate that Treyarch patched that. That one annoyed me so much. Treyarch, why did you do? And I wonder if there's any other things like that we missed somewhere. Not only could you mantle and jump around and be a parkour god, but you could also run super fast with stamina up. I think it was the tier 5 upgrade of no sprint speed fall off made dodging and weaving zombies way more fun and way more rewarding. And then with DLC 4 we had PhD slider that was added, and this gave you a boost while sliding, and that in combination with stamina up and being able to mantle, no fall damage if you got the right upgrades, made moving around literally the best movement system we've had in zombies. If only we could have proper slide jumping like we did in Black Ops 3, that would have been incredible. But the juking, the dodging and weaving, the quick escapes, the last minute exfills, all because of stamina up and the mantling, the PhD slider, it all came together to make this fun, fluid movement system. I think the community's had a lot of laughs. I think Treyarch had a lot of laughs with some of the Easter eggs they implemented and stuff, like the Ronald Reagan one, where you had to clip through a door using Ether Shroud, and that is 100%, without a doubt in my mind, Treyarch giving a bit of a nudge to the fact that you used to be able to do that. I think there definitely were just a lot of laughs in Cold War Zombies as the year went on. On to my final point here, my final pro about the game, is that I think all of this just came together to make the game pretty replayable in the end. You had your upgrades, so you wanted to play more. You had your exfills, so you didn't have to feel like you were losing every match, and the perks were just really fun, and you wanted to hop into a new match to check what your upgrades were going to be like. And I know that there were a lot of people that enjoyed the camo grind as well, and because of all of this stuff, or even just some of it, people had their own reasons to be replaying the game. And even though I think a lot of us were a bit cold towards Cold War Zombies at first, I think eventually most of us warmed up to the game, and really I'm glad we have it. But every game, especially Call of Duty Zombies game, doesn't come without some downsides. The game was too easy. We're gonna start with that one. The game was too easy, and once you started and you were like a new player, it was pretty tricky, and I struggled at the beginning, but once you learn a few basic things, you then realize how easy Zombies actually is, and furthermore, how easy it is to cheese the game. We'll do a little activity, okay? Everyone put your hands in the air. I'm gonna ask a question, and if it's true, and you've done this, then put your hand down. And I can't even see you because this is a YouTube video, but we'll do it. Put your hands up in the air, everyone. Here's the statement. Lower your hands if you have used a round 100 plus Ring of Fire strat at any point in Cold War. That's it, everyone. Hands down. Yep, all of you hands down, and myself. Another problem with Cold War Zombies, as much as it pains me to say this, was Ring of Fire. And this, and with the game being too easy, it kind of merges together into one problem. There's no denying that you could just cheese the game with Ring of Fire because of, one, the game was easy, and two, it's Ring of Fire. And any strat would most of the time involve just sitting in one place, using like a Semtex or something to get Ring of Fire charged up, and then instantly using your Ring of Fire as soon as possible, mowing down zombies, rinse and repeat until you had round 100 on the top right of your screen. There was more to each strategy than that, but most of it just consisted of that, and a lot of people find this playstyle boring, and to be honest, yeah, it could be. So I don't hate Ring of Fire as an ability, I just hate how easy it is to cheese the game with Ring of Fire because it's that overpowered. overpowered. At least high rounds were easier for newer players or just players that aren't as good, but for the more hardcore zombies players, it did throw them off a lot. Another issue that I had with Cold War was that it lacked personality, and this was more so at the beginning than it was the end, because at the end they kind of carved out a bit more of an identity and played into zombies a bit more, but it felt completely disconnected for a long time in terms of story, the feel of the game, the lack of quotes, the lack of any character really. The operators were just extremely dull. It was genuinely exhausting hearing them say the same quotes every single match that either A, weren't funny, or B, were just so boring. The best one you could really get was Samantha. She said some really good quotes, and the sad part was you had to pay. And even then, the money you were paying, Samantha's quotes weren't even that worth it. They also got very repetitive. And so because of the characters being so dull and boring, whenever they would say something, even if they said something about the story, you'd just kind of blank off and not focus on it, and you wouldn't really pay attention to it. But having operators, I don't really think it works. Actual characters like Dempsey, Nikolai, Richtofen, Takio all had such personality, and they said really interesting stuff, and I've missed that for a long time with zombies now. And Cold War took a bit of an L there with these operators, and with Vanguard it's the same thing, and I don't really think it's going to get any better, but I guess we're just going to have to deal with that one. But in conclusion, operators just were not it. They were dull, boring, lacked any personality really. But let's move on to a different thing here. This is the Easter egg rewards were atrocious. You got like a calling card and that was it. I always thought it would be a good idea to get like weapon blueprints or maybe even operator skins. Just something else, because calling cards, besides being collectibles, really, nobody wanted to do an Easter egg just for that. Especially multiple times. Now this next thing is something I said I would get to, and here we are now. With the weapon system being so loadout and wall weapon based, this completely decimated the possibility of the mystery box ever being that useful. I made a whole video on this when Cold War came out, and I was hoping it would get better, but no, the box is still pointless besides endlessly spinning for a wonder weapon, which you could just obtain in other ways really easy, like building it or trials. If you go into a match with your loadout, you're not going to want to change weapons, so you won't see the point of buying the box. And even if you want to change weapons, all of the best weapons in the game are on the walls, and so it just makes the box really pointless. Which is sad, because the mystery box has always been a true staple of zombies, and this also is part of the whole it lacks personality problem, because the mystery box isn't even that helpful. There's just not enough incentive to use the mystery box anymore, so real sad boy hours there. This next one is a really niche kind of complaint, but I've got to say it. The hardcore mode that was introduced, I believe in season 5, it should have stayed longer. It should have been a permanent mode, because that was really fun. It was like an outbreak survival mode. You had to eat food to get health back up. You only started with a pistol. You had no minimap, and it was just more like classic zombies there with a fun difficulty twist. And since zombies is too easy in Cold War, this was such a good little balance for it. If you wanted a real challenge, you can go on to that, because the no health regen was crippling, and I just enjoyed that. I made a video on this as well, going more in depth on it, but I just found it to be a pretty fun game mode for what it was. And there's people that didn't even like Outbreak that did enjoy Outbreak Survival, so the fact that there was that potential there and then it's just gone is something that just annoyed me a lot. And for the final complaint, this one, you should all see this coming. I have ripped this to shreds. My final complaint with Cold War Zombies is Onslaught. Onslaught is horrible. It was an awful game mode. It was so boring, so lifeless, so unengaging and bland. I just hated Onslaught. I don't think it was fun, and this mode could have been so much better. That really is all I have to say about Onslaught. I'm keeping that one short and sweet. It's just not fun, and it really is one of the most boring game modes I've ever played. And now for the neutral section, and this is one thing. That is the story. Cold War Zombies story, it was lukewarm. Not really good, not really bad either. The lack of depth to a lot of the characters, including the operators especially, just made you not really care for them. And although at the end of the whole thing, that the last cutscene we had, where they all got arrested invested, and you know, it made me care a little bit more because it was a good cutscene. But for the rest of the game, I was not really bothered at all. And that's coming from someone who is a huge story guy in COD Zombies. I love the story. And although, like I said, there was a decent story there, it's just when a lot of the characters just felt so boring, and most of the story was just hidden behind intel anyway, it just felt so disconnected. But it wasn't the worst thing ever either. Like, I did enjoy some of it, and that's why I'm saying it's neutral. It's just lukewarm. I wish the story was better, but I'm glad it wasn't worse. I'm praying that Vanguard is going to have a good story as well, with all the gods and everything like that. That should be interesting to see. But anyways, that is everything I think I have to say about Cold War Zombies. I got all of that off my chest. That felt like therapy. That was good. We need to do this again. This video's gone on long enough, but this is my 100th Cold War Zombies video. Like, in my Cold War Zombies playlist, this is the 100th video now, and I think that's quite fitting. I know I've plugged a video at the beginning, but I just want to say, if you want to look back on Cold War, go look at that playlist. It's got hours of content on there, and my closing thoughts are that Cold War was great, but just not perfect. It wasn't as good as Black Ops 3 Zombies, but I wasn't expecting it to be. But what we had was really good. They improved on a lot of stuff, even if a few things needed to be sacrificed. I came out of Cold War Zombies feeling way less empty than I did going into it, so it's done its job. It's been a really good, fun Zombies mode, and honestly, as part of the little community we've got on my channel, hearing all of your thoughts on this game has been really good. And as a side note, just thank you for all the continued support. It really means more than I could ever think of writing down or saying or anything. Just thank you so much. But anyways, I'm gonna leave this video here today. If you've enjoyed, be sure to smash the like button. Comment your thoughts down below on Cold War Zombies. Anything, any funny moments, favorite Easter egg, anything at all. How have you felt about Cold War Zombies in this year? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts, and only a very small percentage of people are even subscribed to the channel, so if you've made it this far, subscribe, you won't regret it. Turn on the notification bell too to stay notified whenever I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.